Hello, happy to meet you all again in the Kade Galata storytelling channel. From the last session, we have been covering the western states of India. We are done with Gujarat. Today, we will go and explore Rajasthan. Rajasthan, the land of kings, grew from early kingdom of fighters to vibrant state of India. Rajasthan means the abode of Rajas. When one talks about the desert, the immediate state that comes to our mind is Rajasthan. The Thar Desert, also known as the Great Indian Desert, is located in this place. Rajasthan is well known for handicrafts, textiles, semi-precious stones and colorful art. The common language that is spoken in Rajasthan is Marwari. Coming to dance and music, as you all know that desert and rain, they are just exact opposite. So the people of Rajasthan, they anticipate monsoon and they welcome monsoon with great joy. The celebration of coming of monsoon is central to folk music of Rajasthan. One of the most famous folk form music of Rajasthan, folk forms of music of Rajasthan is Panihari folk music, and it is believed to be created by the women of Rajasthan. Due to water scarcity, the women they had to go to far off places to fetch water. They would be very tired and exhausted. So during their journey, to ease their difficulty, they sing songs and they compose their own tunes for that. And that is Panihari folk music. The songs would be mainly about water. It would be about the rain or about the water that runs in the rivers. I'll just sing a few lines of a popular Panihari folk song. Kali kalayan mati pinihari jiyelo mirganeni jiyelo motari chatarom barse me balacho मोटारी चटारों बरसे में बालाजो. The song talks about the dark clouds that could be seen in the sky, which tells the people of Rajasthan that there is going to be a heavy downpour. So we'll go to the story now. The story from Rajasthan, which I'm going to share with you all, is very close to my heart, and I'm very happy to share the story with you all. The story is adapted from a real incident that happened long ago, very long ago, in a village in Rajasthan. The village was on the border of the Thar Desert, and it was protected from the harshness of the desert by a small forest that surrounded the houses in the village. The village also had a well from which the whole community who were there in the village drew water from. In that village, there lived a young woman called Amrita Devi who had deep affection for the trees. As a child, she grew up listening to her elders talking about the trees, how trees were important, how trees were essential for their survival, how trees protected the whole village from the sandstorms, and how it provided water and food to the people and also to the animals. What are sandstorms? Sandstorms are created by strong winds that blow over the sand or soil, and they take the loose sand or soil along with them. And it is very common in deserts. Coming back to the story, Amrita, she grew up contemplating the trees as a part of herself without whom she could not live. When she was a small girl, she used to go to the forest every day. She would go and hug the trunk of the trees lovingly. She would climb up the trunk of the small trees, swing from its branches, collect the leaves and make it as a crown. She would go and tie the crown to the trunk of the tallest tree in the forest and would tell her, "You are the king of all the trees," or maybe "You are the queen of all the trees." Even after she grew older, she continued to go to the forest and she would go to the tallest tree and would tell her, "You are the mother of all the trees. You look so tall and lovely. You protect us, you feed us, you give us the breath of our life. How could we live without you? Please teach me to have your strength so that I can protect you forever. Whenever Amrita uttered these words, the leaves in the tree would rustle as if the tree was recognizing Amrita's words, and Amrita would feel very happy seeing it. Days passed. Amrita got married. She had children. The children also grew up listening to the stories about the trees from their mother, and they also developed strong and deep affection for the trees. One day, when Amrita was with her favorite tree, she saw a contingent of soldiers coming towards her. They were coming in their horses and they were armed with axes. When the soldiers when they came near her, Amrita, addressing the leader of the troop, asked him, Sir, can I ask you, please, where are you going? I think you must be on a long journey. Do you need water for your horses or for your soldiers? I can take you to the well in my village. I don't need anything from you, said the leader of the troop in a contemptuous tone, in a hatred tone. Addressing his soldiers, he said, Chop down all the trees in this forest. Our king would be very happy if we can take a good supply of wood to build a new palace. When Amrita heard these words, she couldn't take and she couldn't believe what she heard. She shouted without caring what the response from the man would be. She said, You cannot cut these trees, they've got lives. And if you cut these trees, our village will just perish. Please don't do this. She pleaded. But the man just ignored her words. Riding his horse to front of her, he pointed his sword at the tallest tree, at the mother tree, and said, Start with this tree. Chop this tree first. When Amrita heard it, she burst out crying. She quickly went and covered the trunk of the tree with her body. She just hugged the trunk of the tree. When one of the soldiers bearing an axe headed towards her and shouted, Get out of this place. Amrita said, No, you cannot cut this tree. She is the mother of all the trees. You will have to cut her only after you kill me. Saying this, she hugged the trunk of the tree with all her love and with all her soul. And she closed her eyes, even preparing to get a fatal blow from the soldier. The soldier, who did not want to shed the blood of a beautiful young woman, shoved her aside, swung his axe, and plunged its blade deep into the trunk of the tree. The tree was cut. Amrita was in a state of shock. She was not able to react, and she just, in deep agony, she saw her favorite tree falling on the ground. She quickly went and hugged the stump of the tree which was remaining. She cried out loudly and said, I have failed. I did not know how to protect you. I did not have the strength to protect you. I'm so sorry. She cried out loudly. Her cries could be heard in the village. All the people, the men, the women, the children, the elderly people, they came running towards the forest and they realized what had happened. Immediately, each of them, they went and they hugged each of the trees in the forest. Every time the head of the troop pointed to a tree, 2 or 3 villagers, they quickly ran and they covered the tree. They covered the trunk of the tree with their bodies. The leader of the troop thought if he was going to continue his mission, it would result in a massacre. He had to kill all the people. So looking at the people, he said, Fine, we will leave now. You have won, but only for the moment. He ordered his soldiers, Keep your axes and let us leave for now. The soldiers reached the palace. When the king came to know about what had happened, he was very angry, demanding his horse and his battle sword to be brought to him. He departed as the leader of the small army of the soldiers. He reached the forest and he saw all the people gathering around the fallen mother tree. And none of them opened their mouth. They were so afraid to open their mouth in front of the king. The king shouted at the top of his voice to the innocent people, "How dare you challenge my command?" None of them dared to open their mouth, none of them. But Amrita took a step forward and with tears in her eyes, she said, "My people are not to be blamed." She looked straight into the king's eyes and feeling liberated from all the fear over what fate might bring, she said, "I was the one who forced my people to protect the trees. They came to my side when they heard my cries." The king was amazed seeing the young woman. Her courage, in spite of her deep agony, in spite of her sadness, surprised him greatly. Amrita continued, "The trees which cover our village allow us to live here. Without them, the well would run out of water. There would be no food or water for our animals and for us. Without the protection from the branches and the leaves, the sandstorms will cover us, burying us alive. Without their shade, the temperature will become unbearable." Lowering her eyes and her voice, and knowing that to say this would mean that her head would be severed from her body, she boldly said to the king, "Is this what you want for your people?" The king remained silent for a moment. He knew what Amrita said was right. He knew that the village would not exist if the trees were cut. But on the other side, he did not want to back down in front of his cruel soldiers. He thought if he was going to back down, then it would show his weakness. So without conviction, he finally said, "Chop down all the trees." Immediately, Amrita and her people, they did what they had done before. They went to each of the trees and covered the trunk of the trees with their bodies. The king said, "Chop down all the trees, through their bodies if necessary." The people heard it. Fear and panic seized their heart. But no one moved from the tree they chosen to protect. Look at their conviction. Look at their real courage. Suddenly, a strange silence descended on the whole region. A murmur sound, so soft but frightening, could be heard. All the people, they strained their ears to listen to it. The leaves in the trees started rustling as if it was indicating something. All these things happened in a fraction of a second. With a deafening roar, a huge storm of sand came and hit the forest, plunging everybody into panic. The villagers who were already with the trees, they hugged the trees tightly to escape from the sandstorm. The king and the soldiers, they ran for their lives. And do you know where they ran? They ran to the trees. The trees were standing there selfless. The trees who did not and who could not discriminate saved all the people, saved the king, the soldiers, the villagers from the sandstorm. It was as if the sandstorm was a real thing. It was as if the sandstorm was a fabulous monster who showed the soldiers and the king their insignificance before the power of nature. After some time, the wind died down. All the people emerged shaking from the piles of sand. The king, who emerged from the sand, felt very ashamed and he avoided looking at the eyes of the people. He knew that his bravery was nothing compared to the real courage of the people which he saw. Amrita, who placed herself again in front of the king, said, "It is good that the sandstorm hit us before you cut the trees." The king finally broke down. Looking at the people, he said, I have not been a worthy king. I cannot live up to your courage, your conviction, your wisdom. I have lost as the king, and you saved my life by protecting the trees. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for all the arrogance, and please forgive me for all the sufferings and damage that they have caused you. Seeing this, he left and he reached the palace, and he issued an order stating that the inhabitants of the village need not pay any taxes from that day. And he also promised that the village, the forest, and all the living things in the forest would be protected by him forever. The people lived happily thereafter. And even now, in the forest of Rajasthan, people say that they could hear the words of Amrita. They could hear the words, "My dear trees, you look so tall and lovely. You protect us, you feed us, you give us a breath of our life. How could we live without you?" It seems the leaves, the trees, they rustle as if the trees were recognizing Amrita's words. Such a beautiful story, isn't it? Every time I tell this story, every time I read this story, I get goosebumps thinking about the real courage of the people and their real conviction. As I told you, this story is adapted from a real incident that happened in Rajasthan. And there is another incident that happened in Uttarakhand in the year 1970, and it is popularly called as Chipko movement. I'm sure some of you might have read about it. And those who have not read about it, please go and read about it. You will find it inspiring and interesting. I'm very happy that I shared this story with you all. Thank you. Meet you all in another folktale soon. Bye.